Hello there, and welcome to the Yessi and Jesse podcast. This is Jessica, or Jessie out of the Yessi and Jesse. I am recording this podcast because I found some interesting facts about bipolar disorder online, and I wanted to share it with you guys because I found them really interesting, and these are things that I did not know. Some of them may shock you, and so I am going to be sharing them with you today. So, as you guys may know from my other podcasts or my other videos on YouTube, I smoke marijuana. I'm pretty sure you probably all know this by now if you watch my channel. But if you didn't, there you go. And I personally think that it helps me. I think it's helped me deal with a lot of issues in the past, and I am still continuing to use it. My doctors do know about this. It is on my medical record. And the reason that I am bringing this up is because my doctor recently tested me for just a panel of blood tests. And he tested me for cannabinoids. And it came back positive, clearly. um, again, he knows. This is my psychiatrist. He knows that I smoke. And then I guess from there they do a more thorough test because it only says like mostly yes or no that this person smokes pot. Um, so they did another test and the test again came back positive and it just tells you your level. Which doesn't really matter because if it's above 15, I believe, I mean you're positive anyway, so it doesn't really matter what the number is after that. At least that's what I have come to the conclusion from doing my research. So it came back positive, and then I was on the internet looking around, and I was curious. I was like, so since my level, I mean, is clearly above the threshold, um, I do smoke a lot. I smoke every day. So I just wanted to look into it and see what the correlation between that and bipolar disorder is. I know that as a bipolar person, you are like very much more likely to develop a cannabis disorder. Um, so, but I wanted to see if there are any benefits because everybody talks about the negatives. I wanted to see what the benefits are. There are people that use it, like for instance, people with PTSD, say like veterans, for instance. Um, they use it and it seems to help them a lot. So I just wanted to see like what the benefits of like bipolar disorder would be. So here are some facts. So a study published in 2015 found that marijuana use in some people with bipolar disorder enhanced their mood and promoted a more positive outlook. I found this quite interesting because that is how I feel on the topic. I know that not everybody is going to feel the same. I know there are people that have bipolar disorder or have depression, etc. They can't handle smoking or consuming marijuana. Um, and that's completely valid. And then there's the other side of the coin where those people it seems to help them. Like I agree with that side, at least for me. Um, so the whole positive outlook thing. I mean, when when I smoke, I don't sit on the couch and like chill out. I actually go and clean my house, or like I do something creative, or something that I would not normally do. Um, and usually it invokes like it just invokes a lot of energy in me, not necessarily mania energy, but just if I didn't have energy, it gives me energy, which is um funny because for some people, I mean, like I said, they sit on the couch and just chill out and like zone out and like that's when they get high, that's how they are. I'm not like that. And then so the other side of the coin with the negative, it says with regards to bipolar spectrum disorder, marijuana use or a use disorder is associated with worsening effects, episodes, psychotic symptoms, rapid cycling, etc. Um, I can see how that could be relevant because for somebody that has rapid cycling bipolar, I can not me, sorry, I I don't have that, but for somebody that has that, um, I could see how that could prevent you from kind of being stable, not only mentally but like on your medications. So I mean, these are all good things to talk to your doctor about. Clearly, if there was an issue, I do talk to my doctor about my marijuana use, and we're very open with it. So I think that's how you should be, especially if you have mental illness. I think you should be very open with your disorder and how you're feeling, especially with your doctors. Also, sorry about the birds in the background. I tried turning my mic down as low as I possibly could, but you can still hear them, so I'm so sorry. I can't exactly go in our basement where I usually record my podcast because it's like a lake down there, just like in front of our house. Now, going with the positives of cannabis use, I also have an article here that says people with bipolar disorder who use cannabis actually made fewer risky decisions and had a decreased tendency to pursue trivial tasks for an excessive amount of time. I, again, agree with this. I believe that when I smoke, it kind of, I can't think of the word right now, but mostly when I smoke, it pauses those excessive, the excessive worry, excessive thinking that I have. And also I'm less inclined to be manic and staying up until 4 o'clock in the morning doing whatever art project I'm usually doing. So, yes, that is another fact. That is three altogether so far. Now the next let me see. So now these facts are not going to be on cannabis use. These are just going to be facts about bipolar disorder and some interesting things I found. The next one that I have is that if you are bipolar, they suggest that you don't have high carbohydrate diets because it says it can cause mood crashes. Um, and it also it advises you to space out your meals throughout the day so your blood sugar does not dip too low. Other mood damaging foods include chocolate, caffeine, and processed foods. I wanted to include this in the podcast because I I mostly eat carbohydrates and I drink caffeine, which I'm not supposed to because of my migraines. But like I eat chocolate and processed foods and things like that. So I didn't know that this could have an effect on your mental well-being. I mean, clearly it can have an effect on your body, but I didn't know that like it can have an effect on people that have mood disorders. So I thought that was a fun one to throw in here. Um, and then there is another one about drugs. uh, it says what drugs can trigger bipolar disorder. So most of these were things that I already assumed would trigger it, like alcohol, LSD, mushrooms, benzos, antidepressants. But the last couple of them caught me off guard. It says heart medications, blood pressure medications, prescription pain relievers, and decongestants, which I found quite interesting because I did not know any of these would have an effect on if you have like a mood disorder. So I guess you have to mostly watch like everything you put in your body if you have bipolar disorder is what it sounds like the internet is getting at. And then I did want to throw in an obvious fact for maybe the people that don't, I mean, maybe it's not obvious to you guys, but what brings bipolar disorder out? A stressful circumstance or situation often triggers the symptoms of bipolar disorder. Examples of stressful triggers include the breakdown of a relationship, physical, sexual, or emotional abuse. I wanted to throw this in here because I just thought that was a really good fact, just to, just for to just blanket on bipolar disorder as a whole. Um, because there are people like myself that if you're in a stressful situation, I mean, tenfold it exacerbates your bipolar disorder. So, and then I also wanted to add that I have a video already on bipolar disorder. I have a podcast episode on bipolar disorder, as well as a lot of mental health videos on my channel, Yessi and Jesse on YouTube. Um, but I have a whole video talking about um sexual abuse and relationship issues or impulsivity, things like that. I have a whole video on that if you want to check it out. um I believe it's podcast I believe it's podcast 3 if I'm not mistaken. I will uh tag the video at the end of this. Oh, okay, so another fun fact that I found, Again, all of these facts I found on Google. I did not vet them. I just found them and thought that I would share them with you. But please do your research before you take my advice for anything. I am not a doctor. I am just a regular person with bipolar disorder that feels the need to share. So, but it says, "What are bipolar facial features?" And I was really confused because I was like, "What the hell are they talking about?" I was like, "I didn't know that was a thing." Um, but it says both male and female bipolar patients evidenced significant facial dysmorphology. Common to male and female patients was overall facial widening, increased width of the nose, narrowing of the mouth, and upward displacement of the chin. Dysmorphography differed between male and female patients for nose length and lip thickness. I found this quite interesting because I did not, again, know that bipolar disorder could have an effect on. I mean, I know it can physically affect you. You can get like stomach problems and stuff like that, but I didn't know it could affect your facial features. It kind of had me questioning my sanity when I was looking at myself in the mirror. Uh, and then also, I'm going to throw in a fact. It says, "What is end-stage bipolar disorder?" And if you did not know already, there is really no end-stage bipolar disorder. That's not a thing. It's not like dementia or like Alzheimer's or something like that. However, as you get older, I have read in the past that your manic episodes subside significantly, and your depressive episodes they worsen with age. Normally, people get more depressed as they age. So, for instance, I'm just going to throw this fact in here. My family is not diagnosed. Nobody in my family that I know of is diagnosed with bipolar disorder other than I am. I do not speak to my mother and I do not speak to my siblings, so I don't know if either of them have had a diagnosis since I have last spoke to them. But I can say there are people in my family. I'm not saying my mother or my sibling. I'm just saying in general, my family. There are people in my family I think that should have been diagnosed and they're not. So and you can tell as they have gotten older, the depressive episodes have increased. So I have seen this in real life, but and I'm actually terrified for this to happen to myself because I know it's inevitable. I mean, I've talked about it with my doctors. They agree that this is a fact that is true. Um, they said, you still have to be on medication and go to a psychiatrist, go to a therapist, things like that. And, it will improve. But for a majority of people as they grow older, yeah, they don't have as many manic episodes. So that's another fact that I don't have in front of me right now, but that I think I've even said in other videos. So the end stage bipolar thing, though, like I said, this also says and states, although there is no official classification for end stage bipolar disorder, mild structural changes in the brain that lead to cognitive dysfunction can severely reduce someone's quality of life, especially towards the end of life. So, you might be towards kicking the bucket and your bipolar disorder might get worse, I guess. I don't really. Yeah. Honestly, I try not to think about this stuff because I'm like, I already deal with bipolar disorder as it is, and I don't really want to think about when I'm old and frail and have to deal with my mood disorder. Yeah. So I'm just gonna, yeah, gloss over that. Um, and then there's also here I have talked about that it's hard maintaining a job when you're bipolar or if you have other mental conditions. I'm not just, saying bipolar, but I've had trouble keeping and holding jobs. I also it kind of having bipolar disorder narrows down the types of jobs you can have. And I'm that might sound weird, but I'll explain. So the thought process behind that is that for people that are normal their mental health is good. They might be able to, for instance, work at McDonald's and be fine, and they come home at the end of the day, and or some other corporate job, for instance, where they have to talk to people all the time. So they might come home at the end of the day and just be like, oh, that was work. I can just like put that at work and come home and just chill. For people that are bipolar, that might not be the case. I don't know. Maybe there's some people, they can't work in fast food, like this is saying, because it's saying some examples of jobs that may not suit those with bipolar disorder include food service worker is just like one of them. And the example it gives, and it says this job can be stressful as there's often fast paced or sorry, as they are often fast paced and involved in a high level of interaction with the public. People in this line of work often have to handle complaints and work in the evenings. This can be tricky for people with bipolar disorder because, well, one, if you're anything like me, I get very depressed in the evenings. I don't like really being out at night. It really has an effect on my mood. But and it also can affect your sleep because if you're working in one of these jobs, or even I've worked at AAA before, and I used to work nights, and I loved working nights. I love working at AAA. But the schedule that I had, I was making a buttload of money for my age at the time. But I couldn't. I mean, I could not sleep in the daytime, and then it affected my mental health because I was not getting sleep. I was going to work miserable because I could not get any sleep, and then you have to deal with the people on the phone, which is fine. It didn't really affect me at all. I was like, I was one of those people where I could come home and just like put it at work for that job, but being called a bi, whatever, and told to f off every day is kind of stressful when you already have a mental condition, and you might not want to deal with that. Oh, that's what I was saying. Okay. So even with I get disability through Social Security, and I have it for a multitude of reasons, but the three reasons off the top of my head are that I have migraines, I have PTSD, and I have bipolar disorder. And when you go to the hearing for your disability hearing, um, when we were discussing what jobs I can do, they are significantly narrowed down from what a regular person would be able to do. Again, I'm not saying that if I did these jobs, like I could do the jobs, but keeping the job is the problem. Um, because your moods are so erratic and your sleep schedule is so erratic. So, yeah, that's just another thing to think about. Um, and then I did discuss that my doctor got me a blood panel recently. I had just an overall checkup. So when they do these checkups, they also usually check your vitamin levels, and if you're deficient in anything. I am not deficient in anything anymore. I was prior to this, maybe a year or two ago after I had my daughter, I was had a rough time. But as of present day, I am not deficient. But there are people, like this article states, that there was a study done and it suggests that vitamin D deficiency may be associated with manic episodes, which I found really interesting. In this study, serum vitamin D concentration was found to be lower in the acute manic episode of bipolar disorder than it is in remission periods and the healthier control group. So I thought that was really interesting because you could be suffering from bipolar disorder and if you're vitamin deficient, that could be making it worse. And I don't think that this is something that's spoken much about with like doctors. Like my doctors have never brought this up to me. Um, and I think that that's something that should be maybe like more uh more well known. Um, so yeah. And then I only have two more here. The two that I have are just kind of like, just interesting facts. Um, that I also that I agree with. So the first one is, can you argue with a bipolar person? These are all just questions from Google I'm reading off of here and the answers that I find. Can you argue with a bipolar person? Arguing with a bipolar person is unhelpful and may be harmful in some cases. People with bipolar disorder may have extreme mood swings and can make it difficult to anticipate and work through challenges. This 100% agree with. I am a very difficult person. I know other people that are bipolar. I've met people in the hospital that are bipolar. They're very difficult as well, especially in stressful situations, especially when there is a um what is the word? If there's an argument going on, yeah, it's not as easy to get over it for people that are bipolar. I feel like they hold grudges more often and frequently. I also feel like their anger gets displaced a lot. I think that sometimes, at least for me, I'm speaking from my experience, um, that when I get angry, I have a hard time getting over it, and I can be like fine after an argument, and then still show ignorance or still show resentment, anger towards that person, and it takes me a while to get over that. Even if I'm over the actual fight or argument that we had, it is very hard for me to transition myself into, okay, you're fine now, Jess, like nothing else is going on, you're okay, like, etc. But yeah, and also, I mean, when you get in a fight, a normal person, you guys could argue, but a bipolar person, when they argue, they might get fired up. They might do some erratic, crazy stuff. So, I'm not saying that people with bipolar disorder are terrible people. I mean, I would hope, I would hope myself I'm not a terrible person. We do some stupid stuff sometimes, and yeah, I just I feel that, maybe some normal people, unless you experience bipolar disorder yourself, or like if you're really like, I mean, if you're really informed about bipolar disorder, some people just don't understand. Um so, and then the last thing I have here is the question: does bipolar disorder get worse with age, even if treated? Untreated bipolar disorder can worsen with age, with both the frequency of mood episodes and their duration, Tomic. Says Thomas Scary, MD, MA, staff psychiatrist, Rittenhouse Psychiatric Associations in Philadelphia. They said this is true even with treatment, but to a lesser extent. Um, and again, I have said there are people in my family that I believe are undiagnosed but are 100% bipolar or have something else wrong with them. And I do think that it gets worse with age. I think that um, if you don't get your disorder treated properly when you're young, I mean, I was able to start getting into therapy at 13 years old. I started on medication when I was in high school, late in high school, and I feel like that has substantially helped me, and I think it will help me in the future. I am just now getting a hold on my bipolar disorder. I feel like they finally have me stable on medication. Um, there are life events going on in my life right now that, you know, it's difficult, but I feel like if I wasn't on medication, they would be much worse. So, and I feel like that if you're an older adult and, some people, when they're older, they don't have family or they don't have friends, they, stay in a house all the time. Um, it can be rough. And you, I mean, it can get worse. Especially if you're not going to a doctor in correlation with all of that. But that's all I have to say today. I, yeah, I really enjoyed just looking at some comments on Google and seeing what there was. Like I said, don't take my word as gospel. I do not know the if the sources are good or not, etc., etc. So I'll see you guys next time. Bye.